Hi, everybody. I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking today about this time of year and some of the things that start to occur for people in the lead up to the end of year. So I'm not quite sure what the situation is in your workplace, but in my workplace, there's about 4 more working weeks until we have our Christmas break. Now, I do notice when I'm out and about in the last week in particular, there's a distinct different feeling in the shops when you're going about. There seems to be an increase of pace because, of course, Christmas is around the corner. And Christmas, while it's a wonderful celebration for many people, it also represents quite a time of sometimes stress, a little bit of overwhelm, and at times even anxiety. And I'm sure that's touched us all in different ways in many of our lives. So I talked to naturopath Lisa, who works alongside of me here, and we together have come up with our top 10 tips for the end of year overwhelm. And I thought I'd just spend a little bit of time sharing them with you today. So the number one thing that Lisa in particular suggested, and I would concur, is to quit sugar. Now, we often turn to sugar as the way of giving us an energy high, but the sad thing is about that is often it then has an energy crash on the other end of it. Apart from that, we do know that it plays particular havoc with our metabolism. And sometimes at this time of year when people are starting to do celebratory things, sugar might creep in a lot more than we would normally do in celebrations. So that's number one. Number two, take B vitamins. So Lisa particularly means the B group vitamins. We don't tend to take the individual B vitamins. So you take a B complex, and that can sometimes give you a little bit of extra lift. The other thing that we both suggest is to take some magnesium, and magnesium about 300 or 400 milligrams. It's really important to take it with water. So sometimes magnesium comes in tablets, sometimes it comes in a powder form that you can mix up and sip across the day. Magnesium can be particularly useful when we have increased muscle tension. I don't know about you, but certainly when I'm feeling a bit wound up and overwhelmed, I know that my traps and my jaw and sometimes through my body I get quite tense. So that can cause other issues. So that's another good thing to do, magnesium and hydration. When we're talking about supplements and vitamins and sometimes medication, it's really important to get some professional advice. So those first two tips are just general good advice, things I can share with you. But if you feel like you actually need a little bit more serious help, professionals like Lisa, our naturopath, some general practitioners or integrative GPs will actually look at how else you can be supported. And they may do more investigations with that. So you get more detailed assistance on what's specifically important for you. Particularly if you've been going like a cracker all year and you're coming to the end and things are depleted in your body. So for many people, apart from Christmas pending, they're still in the throes of the end of the academic year. Exams and assessments, and teachers and educators are marking and trying to get reports done. And so we so often see people in that industry really pushing it. The other thing I would say, I'm a chiropractor, and I would say get adjusted, but I want to explain the rationale behind having a few extra adjustments. Many people just think their adjustments are just for mechanical purposes, decreasing neck pain, back pain, lower back pain, headaches. That is a big component of what we do, but some of the lesser known effects about having an adjustment are about what the adjustment does at a neurological level. So when you deliver a specific adjustment to a joint segment that's not moving well, yes, it does mechanically get it to move better. That changes the mechanoreceptors. It often will feel better or differently afterwards because it stimulates the nociceptors, the pain receptors, and resets that at a lower setting. The other thing it does, it has an impact on where you think you are in space. So your posture and your ability to correct yourself, it changes as well. The other thing that is known about adjustments, it has an impact on the part of our nerve system that controls our response to stress. We have an inbuilt system which is known as the sympathetic and the parasympathetic system. So the sympathetic system is largely known as the flight or fright or freeze response. It's the thing that when the brain detects that there is stress, it switches on and it gets you ready to deal with whatever the thing is. In days of old, it used to be called the fighting the tiger response. But when the stress is ongoing, it's not just adrenaline is a hormone that is secreted, it's cortisol, which is the long-term stress hormone. And that artificially pumps you up to sort of keep plowing through the thing that you have to do. The danger of the ongoing stress, or if the nervous system stays in that state, is it actually forgets how to switch off. The counterbalance to the sympathetic system is the parasympathetic nervous system. That's all about rest and digest and recovery. So you deal with the thing, the stressful thing does settle, but then the body needs to go into recuperation to balance that out and then to come back to center again. So some of the technology we use with our scanning devices here, a HRV test is one of the things we do. It gives us an idea about that nerve system resilience and whether you are sympathetic dominant and in total overwhelm all the time. And an adjustment can actually help switch on that parasympathetic part, that slowing, calming recovery time. So that's why adjustments can be really helpful. Sometimes when you're in the thick of things and you feel an overwhelm, it might be in the workplace, you might actually need to remove yourself from that environment. So actually step outside, maybe go into the fresh air, which leads to my number tip, seven, is to step outside and breathe slowly for a few minutes. So the other thing about slow breathing, it does help oxygenate you, but it also, like an adjustment, slows your physiology and it switches on that parasympathetic part of your nerve system, which is the calming down and recuperation. My number 8 tip is exercise. And exercise to a rate that's about a good 70-75% of your maximum heart rate. That's when you can still exercise and you might be able to still talk while you're walking or jogging or whatever it is that you're doing, but you're actually going to start to build up a sweat. And it takes to get to that level to have the real the benefit, the bonus part of exercise, which is the natural endorphin, the chemical release that your body produces post exercise, which in turn has that happy sort of calming effect. So as much as you might be tired, sometimes going for a really brisk walk around the block or a swim or a bike ride or a quick run or jog or pushing some weights, that helps give you a calming down. It also exerts some of the pent up energy. Number 9, stretch. None of us stretch as much as what we should do, nowhere near as long as what we should do. If you're a person who practices yoga, well, you're in the category of people who actually do probably stretch really well and really adequately. And so those long, slow stretches that you do through different parts of your body, you slow your breathing down, you elongate your muscles, you take your tension down. But one thing with your stretching is make sure you try and reverse the posture. So if you're in a chair, you're in a sedentary position with your work the majority of the day, make sure you're doing stretches that are elongating and opening up the body, trying to switch on the muscles that pull those shoulders back. If you're in a situation, I don't know, maybe like someone, a painter who's constantly in this situation, or there's a lot of compression, you may want to go into deep flexion, strengthening, elongating your spine and folding yourself forward. So, horses for courses, it depends on the nature of what you do. Now, number 10. Now, I very rarely do this, but I'm going to acknowledge this little bit of tip to my husband. I have been known to be a bit of an A-type personality, a little bit of a stress head myself, and it's something I've had to try and learn to modulate over the years. One of the things that he started saying to me some years ago when I'd be in a bit of a tiz and I'm trying to get everything done, and a classic example of there's something on the next day, I have to get organised for the next day, and there's great merit in being organised, but he would say to me, Paula, does it really matter? So what that actually did was made me pause and think about that mental list in my head and really prioritize what did I really have to do, what was absolutely pertinent, as opposed to what I really wanted to get done because I wouldn't have a bee in my bonnet. I knew I had that sorted, a little bit of OCD tendency. And he would actually help me stop and think, you know what, I probably have done enough for today. I probably do need to switch off and rest. He'd say, come down, sit with me, and we'd have a chat, or we'd have a bit of time together, and then I'd have a good sleep, and then I'd wake up the day refreshed and I could attack those things on my list. So that's the thing to say to yourself. Does it really matter? I've been in that situation in Christmas Eve too many times where I'm up late in midnight wrapping presents, should have done it before, has to be done by the next day before the children wake up because that's what we do. But if you can change your priorities and take some pressure and expectation off yourself, that is one of the difficult things about this end of year and Christmas time, trying to get things closed up before the end of the working year, trying to get things sorted for Christmas so everything's just so, you know what, people are still going to love you even if you haven't got the bows tight just the same way. I know I'm probably picking a little bit of a a detail there, but it is something we see ongoingly. So I hope that you can take those 10 tips for overwhelm, and something in there is useful for you to help you through this next month leading up to the end of the year, the Christmas period. If you're lucky enough to have a break, I hope it's a fabulous one. I'll be talking to you again well before that, but I leave that good advice with you and take of it what you will. Thanks very much.